from Cleveland's most accurate weather team. This is 19 First Alert Plus, sponsored by the man that makes them pay, Tim Misney.
Hello there and welcome to your First Alert forecast here. Jeff Slauson and Erica Page, and I promise I'm not making a mistake, even though that happens like 90% of the time we do these weather streams. This is what the camera looks like. Normally you would see roads, you would see things. I drove in at about 1:15 today. The only thing I could see in front of me were taillights, excuse me. So a difficult time if you're driving out there right now. Erica, this is something that we've been monitoring. A lot of people are kind of surprised by this, and ultimately leading until a graphic that we're about to pull up here. But first, I'll let people see you. Still moving slowly after the holiday here. Where are we?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, it's going to be foggy. I mean, we were talking about this morning. I think Jeff had mentioned it earlier today that we were likely going to see areas of fog. Even I think Jason mentioned it last night. So it has rolled in. The National Weather Service has deemed it thick enough in spots that we do have a dense fog advisory in effect for a lot of us until early tomorrow afternoon, till about noon. So that is when the 19 First Alert Weather Day will go into effect. You can see here's the dense fog advisory, just to give yourself an idea of who we are tracking this fog for, and it includes pretty much everybody with the exception of about 3 of our counties. So again, this goes until noon tomorrow. Just remember, if you're going to be driving out in the fog, definitely slow down. You don't need to be going necessarily always at highway speed, depending on what that speed is. Keep your headlights on a low beam, increase that following distance, because again, your visibility is going to be reduced when you're talking about your reaction time to things, and be sure to decrease your speed. Again, it's not worth it we've got a lot of other holiday plans going on here, especially into early this next weekend. You want to get where you want to be safely. This is what visibility looks like across our area. Now, I realize not everybody is seeing some of this thicker fog, but we will likely see at least more instances of it as we go through the overnight tonight. So some places visibility is down below half a mile. That includes in Cleveland, down towards Mansfield, Worcester, you're at about a mile. Lorain, Elyria, you're about 1.3 miles. Menor down to half mile or less. So again, just use caution if you're going to be out and about. That really is the big thing we are tracking. Most of the rain is starting to clear off to the east. We still may get a little bit of drizzle out of this system before it's all said and done, just because we still have some of those low-hanging clouds around. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, really, as we go through the next 12 hours, temperatures are going to stay pretty steady because we have that fog layer in place. It's really going to limit how much your temperature is going to deviate here in the near term, and that's going to be a story that translates into tomorrow until we can mix out some of that fog and eventually kind of bring in this next system that we're going to be tracking that will take us into the weekend as well.
All right, Erica, going to take a quick break, come back, look at that 7-day, and then you and I will prepare for the news.
I've represented families just like yours for over 4 decades. Listen, if you need me, call me. You know I'll be there for you, and I'll make them pay. In the meantime, I'll keep an eye out for you.
All right, Erica, we're back looking at that 7-day.
Yeah, so your 7-day forecast will look pretty active. I mean, we have several opportunities to see some rain, potentially even a few flurries mixing in. But here's the thing. It just doesn't look like we're going to see a lot in terms of accumulation. I think this is more so going to be stuff that floats through our air. Maybe you get some quick accumulations through the overnight on those grassy or more elevated surfaces. But because things have been so warm lately, it is going to take some time, and we would need a little bit colder of air to really work back in to give us that better opportunity to see some of that activity. So again, we'll watch that closely. Otherwise, I do need to move my icons. I'm realizing that as we're doing this Facebook Live over one day. But by Tuesday, I do think we are going to see a little bit more sunshine in here, and then temperatures just feeling more so like how they will for the early parts of January.
All right, Erica, anything else before I let you go here?
I don't think so.
Perfect. We appreciate it. We'll see you coming up on 19 News.
Sounds good.
Maybe. You looked on. Are you on TV today or no?
Yes, 3 to
You
4
are.
and 7:30.
Oh. Okay. Sorry.
Understand.
Your face was like will you? Yeah. All right, that's Erica Page. Thank you so much. And that is it for your First Alert forecast here. We will see you coming up 19 News, 3 o'clock, CBS for 3.5 hours of nonstop news.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.
and it has garnered a great deal of passionate conversation, both here in Ohio and, of course, nationally as well. As chair of the Government Oversight and Reform Committee, I have listened intently and carefully to both sides, as well have all my colleagues in this chamber. What I'd like to do is first share with you what is in House Bill 68, our process, where we've been, and then our findings. First, House Bill 68. This came to us from the Ohio House of Representatives, and it really is a combination of two bills in one. House Bill 68, of course, is known as the SAFE Act. That's to save adolescents from experimentation. But it was combined with House Bill 6, which is the Save Women's Sports Act. House Bill 68 is sponsored by Representative Click, and House Bill 6 was sponsored by Representative Jenna Powell. The SAFE Act. That one, it prohibits a physician from knowingly performing gender reassignment surgery and from knowingly prescribing cross-sex hormones or puberty-blocking drugs to a minor for the purpose of assisting with gender transition. Also, the bill requires that prior to a mental health professional diagnosing or treating a minor for gender-related conditions, they must obtain parental consent and must screen the minor for other comorbidities, abuse, and trauma. The SAFE Act also prohibits Medicaid coverage of gender transition services for minors, but it would still cover mental health services for a gender-related condition. It also clarifies that a court may not deny a parent's parental rights based on the parent's decision to raise the child in a manner consistent with the child's biological sex. It should be noted a few things what the SAFE Act does not do. It does not affect anything for individuals who are 18 years and older, adults. Also, House Bill 68 does not prohibit the use of cross-sex hormones or puberty-blocking drugs for minors who might need these for other medical conditions, such as precocious puberty. House Bill 68 also does not it does not affect minors who have received a diagnosis of a medically verifiable disorder or sex development. It also does not affect minors who need medical treatment for a complication from a previous gender transition procedure. So those are the exceptions to House Bill 68 with respect to the SAFE Act. Now I'm going to switch over now to the Save Women's Sports Act. That one, any school in Ohio, it requires any school in Ohio that participates in athletic competitions, and this includes state institutions of higher ed as well as private colleges that are members of the NCAA, the NAIA, or the National Junior College Association. It says that these organizations, these schools, shall designate teams based on the sex of the participants, male, female, or co-ed. And these schools shall not knowingly permit males to participate on athletic teams or in athletic competitions designed for female participants. The bill also offers legal protections. Any participant deprived of an athletic opportunity or suffers harm as a result of a violation of this section has a private cause of action for injunctive relief and damages against the school, district, interscholastic conferences, etc. Any participant who is subject to retaliation for reporting a violation also has a private cause of action. And any school district which suffers harm because they maintained the provisions of this bill and were subject to adverse action by any agency or political subdivision or athletic association also has a private cause of action. And any civil actions shall be initiated within 2 years of the date of the violation. What does the Save Women's Sports Act not do? It should be noted that House Bill 68 does not restrict the eligibility of any student to participate in co-ed or male-designated athletic teams or competitions. This bill did garner a lot of interest. Let me I'll tell you about the time frame. So originally this was introduced in the House. Again, it was as two bills. House Bill 68 was introduced last February 15th. I'm sorry, House Bill 6 was introduced February 15th, and House Bill 68 was introduced February 27th. They had 4 and 5 hearings, respectively, over in the House committee, and it was voted out of the House on June 21st by a vote of 64 to 28, and it came over to us with 47 co-sponsors. It was referred to the Senate Government Oversight Committee back in September 13th. We have had 4 hearings on the bill. We did have 86 in-person witnesses. We had 168 pieces of written testimony, and that's just in the Senate committee. And I'd like to take a moment here as a chair of the committee to compliment all of the witnesses on both sides of this issue who testified over the last several weeks, because everyone in committee did remain respectful of the process and of each other, and it truly was commendable. We heard people on both sides of this issue speak from the heart. Stories of their own individual experiences, their struggles, their triumphs. What is clear to me is that both sides of this issue genuinely believe that what they are advocating for is best for the kids. The Senate Government Oversight Committee, we made 5 changes to the bill over the course of 2 amendments, and I'll go over what those changes are. So we clarified that a court may not deny or limit a parent's parental rights based on the parent's decision to raise the child in a manner consistent with the child's biological sex. This did not change the intention of the bill as it came to us from the House. It just merely clarified the language. We removed the definition of the word gender. We removed certain statistics in the legislative intent section. We also added what is in essence a grandfather clause. This is permitting those that are currently minors in Ohio that are going through these procedures or receiving these prescription cross-sex hormones and puberty-blocking drugs to continue up until the effective date of the bill. Because we're adding this grandfather clause, there is not a need then for that additional 6-month extension of the effective date of the bill, so we did eliminate that additional 6-month extension. We also added a provision that requires a mental health professional before diagnosing and treating a minor's gender-related condition to obtain the consent of at least one parent. What had been in the bill before was the verbiage, the House had required each residential parent and legal custodian or guardian. That phrase, that terminology is only used in the Ohio Revised Code a select number of times, and then every time it's with respect to court orders. The bill we voted out of committee today by a vote of 4 to 1. And now on to the findings. So with respect to protect women's sports, we are hearing with increased frequency the stories of female athletes in our nation either being robbed of athletic opportunities and awards, or even worse, being severely injured by males entering female athletic competitions. And this has to stop. It's blatantly unfair and frankly quite dangerous. And it's time that Ohio joins the other 23 states in this nation that have passed the Save Women's Sports Act. With respect to the SAFE Act, we recognize the right of parents to raise their children, yet government does put laws into place for the benefit of minors. For example, we require children to receive an education, be it public, private, homeschool. They need to be educated. We don't allow children to use drugs or permit them to be abused or abandoned by their parents. When this happens, kids get taken into the foster care system. We also recognize that kids change their opinions as they mature, and it's frankly quite reckless to allow children to make such life-altering decisions when they are so young. Ohio can lead in this area as well, and we should vote affirmatively to join 22 other states who have enacted legislation similar to this one. Throughout this experience, it's blatantly clear that transgender individuals are real. We've heard from many of them in committee, and they do suffer. They deserve dignity and compassion and community. But what they do not deserve is fads, ideology, and certainly not grotesquely optimistic false promises that are not supported by science. House Bill 68 protects Ohio's kids and is good public policy. I would like to thank Marcus Benjamin, he's our policy director, for his steady
designee member to encourage
advocates.
Fifth,
And I'm going, which people
believe me, I want to do anything.
legislation. And now the majority party is advancing state-sponsored bullying legislation with House Bill 68. Second observation is I believe Ohioans told us loud and clear in November that they don't want politicians making their personal health care decisions. And it strikes me that House Bill 68 is going to repeat that mistake.